Hello and welcome back. I'm your friendly neighborhood technician. Today, I'm going to give my hand a go at a reaction video. Now, I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube about Mercedes repairs, opinions on Mercedes, oh, buy this one, don't buy this one, yada, 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 stuff like that. But a lot of these videos are done by people that may have touched a Mercedes once or twice, but not by someone who's worked on them every day for the past decade, 12, 13 years. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna react to one of these videos right now, and we're gonna see how much misinformation or truthfulness there is to the video. So let's get to it. Well, this video is called "People Think I'm Full of Crap About Mercedes." Well, let's see how true or not true that is.
1, 2, 3,
Rev up your engines!
I don't think that's Mercedes.
It's time for Scotty Kilmer channel. Today I'm going to show you why Mercedes-Benz often turn them into money pit machines if you drive them for any serious length of time. Now take this beautiful looking Mercedes. It runs good, rides good, but when I hook up this fancy scan tool I have, look at all the red trouble codes that it has. It's just got red trouble codes all over the place. Okay, I counted them all. There are 25 trouble codes that show problems.
Okay, let's see here. ESP and transmission. Now, just because there's a trouble code doesn't mean there's actually a noticeable issue with the car. You can have a stored fault, which means there's a fault that happened at one point, but just because you find a fault code in a computer doesn't mean that you're going to have a noticeable issue. So you can see right here, it doesn't specify which codes there are, so you can't really tell from this picture or this clip what issue may or may not be present, and he never specifies.
This car now has. So yes, this beautiful looking and I must admit beautiful riding vehicle has already 25 separate problems that exist in the car because of
25 separate problems. I really doubt that, because like I said, just because you have a fault code doesn't mean you're going to have a noticeable issue.
all the crazy computer controls that they put in them. Now everything on this Mercedes is practically run by a computer module. As you can see here, there is a suspension control module that operates the rear suspension. It's a computer just for that. And if you're curious, just that module costs $595. They also have computer modules that operate the lighting system, that operate the stereo system, that operate the transmission, and they're all equally as expensive. And take a look at the one shock absorber for the front right. If you go over here, it costs $1,190. That's the price of one shock absorber.
Yeah, struts for that car aren't cheap. About $1,200 a piece. That is true.
And if you look at the labor for putting that shock absorber in, one side runs 2.3 hours labor. And when I called a local Mercedes dealer here in Houston, they charge $160 an hour labor.
That's accurate for about 7 years ago, although New England, that might be a little bit cheaper than Southern California. I know labor rates have increased significantly since then. They're about $270 an hour right now, so that has gone up. And I want to rewind it a little bit here, because these labor times, you can see right here where it says manufacturer warranty 1.7 and standards 2.3. Depending on markup for the dealership, markup could be anywhere about 50%. So 50% of 1.7 is going to be another 0.83 hours on top of that, or 0.85 hours on top of that. So you're talking at 1.7, it's going to be more closer to 2.5, 2.6. Actually, no, I can't math right now, but it's going to be higher than 2.3 hours. And just like that 2.7 for the manufacturer warranty, the standard is going to be more than just an hour markup on that. That's going to be what's half of 2.7, which is going to be half of 7 is 3/10 or 0.35. So 1.35 on top of that. So it's going to be closer to 4 hours. 4.1 is going to be the markup.
Runs 2.3 hours labor. And when I called a local Mercedes dealer here in Houston, they charge $160 an hour labor. So there's a lot of money changing these parts out. And okay, if all this complexity lasted a long time, didn't break, that'd be one thing. But hey, as we've already found with my little computer here, this baby's got 25 problems already. Apart from just bad designs. As you can see the front rotor here, there's a giant ridge on the edge. And here's why it occurred. For some strange reason, Mercedes-Benz keep making brake pads that don't cover the entire rotor. Now, if this was a Toyota or a Ford or whatever, they make the pads the right size so they fit over the whole rotor and wear it evenly. But not Mercedes. They deliberately make the pads so they don't cover the whole rotor. So the rotors wear on the inside and leave a tiny ridge the whole way around. So when it's time to change the brake pads, you have to change the brake rotors with it, or the new pads will hit this ridge and squeak like mad. And of course,
That is absolutely not true. You don't have to change your rotors every time you change your brake pads. There is a wear limit for the brake rotors, so if your brake rotors are not below that wear limit, you do have the option of not replacing your brake rotors when you replace your brake pads. Just because there is a lip, if there's a large lip like that, it's probably because the brake rotors are at their minimum spec or getting close to it, and you should replace them anyways. But just going through a set of brake pads is not going to cause that large lip like you saw on the outside edge. That's several brake pads and several brake services worth of wear on those brake rotors, so you do not have to change your brake rotors every single time.
like Toyota, Ford, Chevy, you want a brake pad that covers the whole rotor. The more surface area the brake pad touches, the more heat dissipation you'll have and the better your brakes will work. This bad design that always creates a ridge on the outside and on the inside here too just requires new rotors every time you do a brake job if you don't want noise, so they can make a higher profit doing the job. I just can't wait to see what the Mercedes lovers are going to come back with when I upload this video on YouTube, how they can possibly defend this horrible design. Scratching her head at that.
I'm not defending the design, but that's 100% misinformation that you have to replace your brake rotors every time.
That one, look at this. They're recessed way inside here. So if something ever goes wrong, it's almost impossible to work on them without ruining the wheel. The lug nuts are so far recessed in, if anything ever goes wrong and they get stripped, you're going to spend a small fortune fixing something as dumb as a lug nut. Heck, and don't even get me talking about these stupid low-profile tires.
With those wheel bolts, I've never had one of those wheel bolts stripped, one of those 17 millimeters. I've never had the outside stripped where you would not be able to get them out like that. The only time we ever had stripped wheel bolts is when they have aftermarket wheel bolts. They're using cheap chrome ones, and you have to get them out. But yeah, sometimes you get aftermarket wheel bolts in there. You do have to call the bolt guy who's more professional at getting bolts out in situations like that.
Heck, and don't even get me talking about these stupid low-profile
And by the way, they're not lug nuts, they're wheel bolts.
tires.
That's
They're
just me
great
picking
for a
it up.
racetrack. They corner great and all that. But driving them in the city, look what happens. Not only does the rim get eaten up, but the tires get chewed up all the time because they don't have much sidewall. They'll hit curbs, bumps on the road will make them smash holes in them. Planned obsolete.
How's that the fault of Mercedes? Because someone's parking by braille? They park too close to the curb and scratch their wheel up? I don't think that's the fault of Mercedes. It's the fault of the design. I don't think it's the fault of the tire. That tire was aftermarket anyway, so it's not a factory tire. You see right here, it's
For a racetrack, they corner great and all that. But driving them in.
Michelin Pilot Sport AS. Yeah, it could be factory tire. But either way, that's right here. That's hitting a pothole or doing something. This is from parking too close to the curb. So it's, again, that's fault of the driver, not fault of the car.
In the city, look what happens. Not only does the rim get eaten up, but the tires get chewed up all the time because they don't have much sidewall. They'll hit curbs, bumps on the road will make them smash holes in them. Planned obsolescence has gone berserk with these Germans. Perhaps one of my favorite craziness is this. Watch. You open the door, the window automatically opens itself a little crack here. And then when you close it, it automatically closes itself the rest of the way. System breaks, as break they all do. Then you spend a small fortune to fix it so the window can go down and then go up the hole when you close it, not go down and stay there and get wet when it's raining outside. Now they claim that's to save this rubber weather stripping here from getting torn when you open and close the door with the window up, but really, a 20-year-old Celica doesn't have that. And the rubber is still perfectly fine and not torn, and there's no leaks inside when I'm driving. Yes, the Germans are...
So your 20-year-old Celica has a different window seal design, and it doesn't get eaten up versus the one that has a different design, and it has a special window function because of that design. And no, sorry. Going back here, if you look at the design of the window seal...
And then go up the hole when you close it, not go down and stay there and get wet when it's raining outside. Now they claim that...
Okay, you see right here this window seal, this edge? It's not to save this part of the window seal right there. It's this part of the window seal. This part of the window seal actually goes down over like that, and the window comes up and shuts like this. So when you try to open the door, instead of fighting the window with that seal going like that, the window will drop as soon as the door latch is opened, and then you can open the door properly without catching that seal. And because when you also catch that window seal, if you notice that if your windows aren't normalized, that door won't drop down, or the window won't drop down, and you actually pull the glass like that, and you can cause other damage doing that as well. But usually that could be caused by your window motor going out, or your window normalization is not, your window's not normalized, which would cause that also, which would also cause it not to go back up. But usually you can pull it up with the door, with the window switch.
That's to save this rubber weather stripping here.
Yeah, if you see right here the window stripping.
When you open and close the door with the window up, but really, a 20-year-old Celica doesn't have that.
You can see right here, this big old thick seal that he's pointing at, this one doesn't have the seal that goes down over the window. So it's got a different seal design.
And the rubber is still perfectly fine and not torn,
thumb?
and there's no leaks inside when I'm driving. Yes, the Germans are masters of over-engineering, if anyone is. And of course, the market understands the problematical natures of these cars. Just look at the difference in value. We sold for $80,195. Today, 8 years later, you can get one for $16,972. So in 8 years, this car has lost $63,223 worth of value. And I don't know about you, but that's a heck of a beating to take driving a car for 8 years. But if you enjoy riding around in fast...
It's no secret that Mercedes vehicles lose value. It is what it is. It's been known for years. You want a car that holds value, buy a Toyota.
Smooth money pits? Go right ahead and buy one. Or be like my customer. Buy the $16,000 one. The only thing you can lose is $16,000 then. And just pray that it doesn't have any serious engine or transmission problems while you do.
There's nothing more expensive than a cheap Mercedes.
Drive it before you sell it on to the next person. All right, here we have over $150,000 Mercedes.
So this looks like a 2020 and up, 2020, 21, 22 GLE 63 coupe.
Brand new, and it's had all kinds of problems. Now, this is a V8 bi-turbo, all-wheel drive Mercedes. And it says AMG on it. But things are not what they seem. Kind of fudging things here, just like my Triumph motorcycle. British flags, la 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 la. But if you do a little research, I go through the VIN number of my British motorcycle, right? It was made in Thailand. They do a better job than the Brits do, but nobody does a good job at making Mercedes more than the Germans themselves in Deutschland. Let's look at the door. And what does it say? All right, it says, manufactured in Alabama, Tuscaloosa County. Under contract for Mercedes.
I've actually been to that plant. It's actually interesting to go through. One thing that we got to do as a part of Mercedes, they had a few years ago. I think they started it up just before COVID. It was they called it brand immersion, and they sent us to Alabama, and we got to go through the plant where they're building the SUVs and C-classes, stuff like that. It was really interesting to go through and watch the vehicles being made.
Mercedes-Benz, Stuttgart, Germany. So it was made in Alabama. Now, he paid over $150,000 for this car, looked at it in California, had it shipped to the East Coast. Here's what it started out with. You notice the noise when he closed the passenger door. It turns out there was weld spatter here. Sloppy job welding and not buffing. That it wore the paint off here. And he had to argue with them and fight back and forth just to get it fixed correctly. Now, it's got a great sound system. There's no arguing that. But so far, 3 of the speakers were blown and rattling, and he had to get them replaced. A little bit of quality loss there. Listen to all these electronics. It's certainly got electronics up the wazoo, but the most annoying things for him is this.
interference detection active.
The mirror.
Neither of those noises were factory noises. I don't know what he's talking about there. But 3 of the speakers being blown out, we usually get 1 speaker blown out, and it's one at a time. But usually on those cars, I get in them and the bass is turned all the way up, the volume's turned all the way up. So when you do that over time, yeah, you're gonna wear your stuff out a little bit quicker. So 3 of them being blown out. I'd like to see which 3.
Talks to them. It whistles. It was not made correctly, and they said they have no idea when the mirror is going to come in and be able to get one to get rid of the whistling noise. It's a $150,000 car. Now that would annoy the heck out of me, as you can see.
So yeah, they do have issues with the mirrors. They do create wind noise. So that is accurate.
This car is loaded with technology. It's absolutely insane, the technology in his cars. The LED colors, the speakers, but then again, 3 of the speakers are broken already. Paddle shifters. You can do it electronically. You can fiddle around with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so one thing about Mercedes, they do love their redundancy. So you can do a lot of different things a lot of different ways. So on this car, you can adjust your settings right here. You can do all that this is a touchscreen, so you can adjust it with the touchscreen, or you can adjust it right here with the buttons on the steering wheel on the right side, or you can do it from the touchpad that's right here in the middle. It's down, you can't see it right now, but there's a touchpad. You can do it right there also, or you can do it with voice commands. So yeah, it's 4 different ways you can adjust the settings and anything in this screen right here.
Answers. The transmission to make it no manual.
There's the touchpad right here. Here's the touchpad to control the command screen.
Mode. You can turn the traction control off. Now, as we open the hood, the owner pointed something out. His windshield squirting fluid's always leaking out because this doesn't fit right. And you may or may not believe.
Yeah, I'm gonna say he's full of crap on that one. I have never had windshield washer fluid leaking because the cap didn't fit right. That cap is not airtight at all, or it's not watertight at all. And when you have windshield washer fluid that leaks, there is usually a crack in one of the seams. So it is a manufacturing issue sometimes, but also rodent damage, and which I would not be surprised. Back here, you look at right here, he is in New England, so there's a lot of nature, a lot of trees going on, a lot of rodents. So a lot of rodents like to get in there, and they like to chew up plastic, and they like to chew up anything, wires, anything like that. So you can't blame the washer fluid leaking on the cap not being there. It'll leak, maybe leak a little bit for a time if it sloshes out, but it's not going to continuously leak just because the lid's not tight.
Believe this, but he told me they said, well, we can put another one in, but it'll do the same thing because they all do that. This is on a $150,000 car, mind you. This isn't a Yugo. This isn't some cheap little Fiat. This is a $150,000 car. These are tightened so tight, the plastic was cracked, so they had to replace the whole front grille. Let's just say those boys in Alabama who are building them, they don't build them like they do in Deutschland. Now, the engine itself is a marvel of technology, and as you can see, handcrafted. This is extremely complex. It has a mild hybrid system, which now puts out a lot of power. But I'm kind of wondering, hey, this is a new car, and it's had all these problems already. What's going to happen when this thing is 5-6 years old? If that hybrid system starts breaking down, did you ever take a car to the Mercedes dealer and then just about scream when you see what it's going to cost? Well, with a hybrid, you're going to scream twice as loud. No, there's no arguing. It's a beast. It's got tremendous brakes, good Pirelli tires on it, aerodynamic, and now he could probably sell it for 20 grand, more than what he paid for it. Maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to do that, you know? Now, he had some idling problems that they worked on, but he's still not totally satisfied. Let's get my computer and take a look at this thing. But before we do, you can see I got my jacket on. It's getting colder here in New England. Came with summer tires. He told me there's no option for all-season tires, so he had to go get winter tires for it now. So hook up the outscan tool. At least the Germans are logical here. Look, they have it in a nice, easy place to get to. Fight computers with computers. Do intelligent diagnosis. And here we go. We know what it is. Loading the data. This is a fast machine on a fast car. It still takes quite some time to even go through the beginning of the system because there is so much stuff on this car. All that previous stuff was just to load the information. Now it's doing a simple scan. The machine itself knows I've got this connected because it knows there's an analytical machine aboard. But the two computers talk to each other. It did the preliminary one, now it's doing another one. There's a lot of stuff that has to be go through. Luckily, they're all green so far. Now realize this vehicle only has 21,000 miles on it. But here we go. Look at the codes. Transmission control module. Communication with the electronic ignition lock has a malfunction. Communication with the steering column module has a malfunction. Communication with one or more color generation and coupling modes on line bus 6 has a malfunction. The message is missing. That's all these colors. That system itself is acting up. Implausible data were received from control unit radar sensors. The instruction counter is not updated. Now the multi-function camera. Communication with electronic ignition lock has a malfunction. Implausible data was received from the head unit. An incorrect signal. The radar signals. ECO, start, stop. This is one of those start, stop systems. This thing's broken down already. More
That's not true. It's not broken down already. Like, again, these are all codes or events. Mercedes has 3 different types of codes. They have current codes, stored codes, and they have events, which events are not exactly codes. They're not fault codes or anything like that. So a lot of these communication codes you see right here, those are going to be events. They're not going to be fault codes. Now you have this P code where it says the eco start stop function has a malfunction. That could be a fault code, but that could be a stored code. It doesn't specify whether it's happening right now. So, and he also, again, doesn't specify whether there's a complaint present. He's just running codes on a car. And if you pull in any car off the street, any Mercedes car off the street, you're going to have any number of these codes there. Doesn't mean you're going to have a concern. Doesn't mean you're going to have a noticeable issue. But a lot of these right here, they're just fault codes and there could be an event that happened one time, and a lot of these faults could have happened at the exact same time. That's possible too. I can't see the freeze frame data, so I don't know which mileage, which time, what date that they all happened in, but it is possible they all happened at the same time. They could have only happened once, and the customer didn't even know anything happened. So, but yeah, just because there's codes doesn't mean there's an issue, and doesn't mean anything's broken.
communication faults. The communications for the telematics services has a problem. The audio has a problem. The instrument cluster has a problem. There is a general electrical fault. Well, good luck with all this electronics figuring out where the general electrical fault exists. Perhaps the most amusing part. This active body control is a known recall. He took it back to the dealer and they said they fixed it. Well, let's see. It's got two codes. They certainly did not fix it. Get the problem here.
Okay, let's go back to that. That recall that he's specifying right here, the active body control, that's a software update. And that's not, they didn't go ahead and just replace a bunch of stuff. So these fault codes being there, again, doesn't mean that the dealership didn't fix it or didn't perform the recall. The recall was a software update. So these, again, are just codes that are there that, again, probably don't have any noticeable issue or are not causing any noticeable issue.
He took it back to the dealer and they said they fixed it. Well, let's see. It's got two codes. They certainly did not fix it. Get the problem here. You can see the software was supplied by Continental. They're not even doing their own software on this thing. I've never even heard of their software.
The control unit was probably made and manufactured by Continental. Continental does manufacture quite a bit of control units, stuff like that. So the software is going to be supplied by the person who built the control unit. So that's normal.
So obviously it's got problems. There was a recall, he took it in, they said they fixed it, but obviously not, because it's still there. It's still a code there.
Again, just because the code's there doesn't mean it wasn't fixed.
Now the problem with the Mercedes is they're so complex. Look at this, we're just going into some simple thing. And we'll go into something like air conditioning. Look at all the information you have to go through. The line bus, just go into
LIN bus, local interconnect network.
Things that you think are simple. It's kind of like following Alice in Wonderland down the rabbit hole. Things are a lot more complex than you think they are. Look, the dealer said they fixed the problem. They didn't even fix it. And this is a known problem. Imagine when it's an unknown problem. No one's ever going to figure out how to fix these things. I met a German mechanic years ago, and he said, Scotty, he says, you know, in Deutschland, they just want to make cars. 4 years, you throw them away and buy a new car. And he said that to me 10 years ago. Today, it's even doubly so. I can't believe this, but they have a thing for a perfume atomizer generator you can check. So basically, the Germans have lost their minds with technology, and if you buy one of these and it breaks, you may lose your mind trying to get the stupid thing fixed. I mean, come on, they got these Alabama guys putting it together, and they're not doing such a hot job from all the problems that it had just from the get-go. Imagine when this thing gets to be 5 or 6 years old, and it starts having serious electronic problems. Not.
What was wrong with that CLA besides the person crashed it? Again, not the fault of the car.
I could go on and on and on, but my old friend in Houston, Herr Schmidt, he's long gone, he told me over a decade ago, he said, Scotty, even I, who've been working on these cars for 50 years, and that's all he worked on was Mercedes. He said, I don't know 10% of how this stuff even works anymore. And he had even a fancy one of my machine. He had the actual Mercedes star tester. And he said, I'm not going to go back to class for this. He sold this business to another guy, moved back to Germany. He gave up with it. Now, the owner told me, he liked.
If anyone who's seen Happy Gilmore, this guy sounds familiar.
Likes the car, but he doesn't like all the problem it has. And he said he's only going to keep it under warranty. So he's probably going to go out and buy an extended warranty that goes 7 years and 100,000 miles and then get rid of it before then. Now, if you watch any of my videos about warranties, I say they're a bunch of bunk. In this case, no, because his tires were $3,500. You can imagine when this thing goes wonkers, they will have to fix it with a warranty like that. And in a car with all this technology, all this craziness, you gotta have a warranty on it.
So aftermarket warranties, how they work, especially at the dealership level, if you have an aftermarket warranty, there are things that the aftermarket warranty can decline. So it don't cover bumper to bumper, and a lot of times aftermarket warranty will only cover a certain amount of labor. So if there's any labor that goes above that, the aftermarket warranty can say, hey, this is, or we can put in an estimate like this is how much the warranty is going to be, or the labor is going to be. The aftermarket warranty can say, okay, we'll approve this much labor. The difference is going to be up to the customer. So it's there could be some additional cost on the customer, even though they have a warranty. Now, if they have a ELW or a CPO warranty, stuff like that, there are things that aren't covered under ELW and CPO, such as, let's see, brakes are not covered under CPO and ELW, or batteries. Batteries only covered 4 years, 50,000 miles. Brakes are usually 12. Bulbs also. So bulbs are covered 4 years, 50,000 miles, but after that, they're not going to be covered. So depending on the warranty you get, there can be still cost on part of the customer. And again, also the aftermarket warranty does have the option to say, yeah, we're not going to cover that, and then in which case the customer is going to be on the hook for whatever that repair is.
Let me tell you, this thing is just, it's a mild hybrid on top of it. So, I mean, you're really talking about technology up the wazoo. Now, they used to say, they build them great in Deutschland, solid. Well, I kind of disagree in this case because the guy was in traffic. 2x5 ladder fell off a truck and he hit it, right? It was $23,000 of damage to this car. This is not built like a tank. 23 grand for hitting a little bitty 2x5 ladder. You know, I had a guy the other day, he came with a Toyota and he had something. And I didn't even know it was wrecked, and it was fixed, and it wasn't that big of a deal. That was twice what he paid for the entire Toyota car, just to fix the damage of a 2x5 ladder that he hit because he couldn't swerve out of the way because there were people on each side. So if you want insane speed in an SUV, and you got
Again, not the fault of the car that the guy hit a ladder while he was driving.
$150,000 burning a hole in your pocket, and you don't mind those Alabama boys that are a little bit slack on their quality control. I think I'll buy a house and...
You know he's talking a lot of crap on an Alabama manufacturing plant, but made in the USA. What can I say?
Instead. So if you never want to miss another one of my...
Well, that's it. people say I'm full of crap about Mercedes, I'd have to agree with them, because there's a lot of stuff in that video that was just not true, or he didn't really give enough information to make an accurate assessment of the little information that he was giving, such as the trouble codes, stuff like that. Why was he running the trouble codes? Was he looking for a certain fault? Was he looking for, something? Did he have a complaint that was going on? So just throwing a computer or laptop on to check for codes, you're going to get those codes all the time. And again, doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the car. But, well, that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I think I'm going to do some more like this. So make sure you give me that thumbs up, hit subscribe, and make sure you hit the notification icon when you get, so you get notifications when I post a new video. Thank you for watching.